You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the August 28th meeting of the Michigan City Sanitary Board. You can find more information for this meeting at www.accessLaPorte.county.org.
This is the regular meeting of the Michigan City Sanitary District Board of Commissioners. Today is August 28th. We're a little behind schedule. We stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll do roll call. Start off with our Vice Chair, Don Babcock.
Yeah, I'm here.
Tim Werner, City
Present.
Engineer. Andy Throwing.
Here.
And Linda Simmons is here. So we do have a quorum. First order of business is approval of the minutes from the August 24th meeting.
Move to accept the minutes.
Can I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the last meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, Chair, aye. Motion approved. Public comments. Go ahead.
Yeah, Madam President, Councilman Don Prispolinski. A couple things. Number one, I noticed on the corner of Chestnut Street and Wabash, that's right by Tri-State Electric, there's a sanitary sewer there that's probably at a 50-degree angle, probably getting ready to collapse. So I figured I'd let you know about that. And then from the...
Don, is that a manhole in the street, or
Pardon?
is that a manhole in the center of the street, or inlet
No,
on the
it's on the
side?
side.
Okay,
It's on the northeast corner.
northeast corner. Thank you.
Yeah.
Storm.
And then to the attorney, Mr. Harris, where do we stand with the litigation with Long Beach for the $500,000?
So that litigation, if the board doesn't mind, I'll go ahead and kind of respond to that, is still ongoing. Right now, it's in a phase called the dispositive motion phase. There's been a motion for summary judgment that was filed. We've responded to it, and the court has a couple of options. The court can rule on what has been filed, or it can set it for a hearing, and that'll determine whether or not this case can come to an end sooner rather than later, or whether or not it'll take its normal course of action and proceed towards trial, which of course along the way cases can resolve themselves, but as of right now we're continuing to defend the case, and we'll report if there's any action taken by the court. We'll report that, but right now that's where things stand. We should know within the next 30 days whether the court is going to set the dispositive motion, which is the summary judgment for hearing, or not. So I'll report back at the next meeting kind of where things stand, but that's where they are.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
If I may, has Long Beach taken any other action since?
No, they haven't taken any other action. Right now, everyone's waiting for the court to determine if they're going to set a hearing sooner rather than later, or just rule on it and decide what they believe is equitable under their interpretation of the law.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Okay, we'll move on with the our monthly safety report, which all the board members received information in their board packet. And we'll move on with our financial report. So this would be for the July cash balances. Thank you.
Cash balances for July. Sanitary District Operating Fund, $1,080,266.86. The Tax Levy Fund, $2,604,254.95. Indian Springs and Whippoorwill, $5,059.52. Carwick, $221,263.78. The bond and interest is $260,865.18. The debt service reserve is $546,862.54.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. If I may just say one thing on report as a measure between the report that you just received and was written, which is generated by Karen. I actually got documentation from the bank to show every one of the balances that are due, that were in there as of yesterday.
Well, that was very helpful. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Welcome.
Okay, next, still under financial reports, got Harris Law Firm. And we have an invoice number 28. Can I get a motion to approve?
I'd like to make a recommendation to pay this.
Okay. I concur.
Motion made to approve the 5,000.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair, aye. Moving forward, also have James Meyer and Associates. And we also have this is for professional services, and the invoice number 198. Can I get a motion to approve?
I assume similarly.
I make a recommendation to pay the $112.50 balance due.
Thank you. Keep jumping your guns.
That's okay.
Move to
Okay,
make
we
a
got a
payment.
motion.
Okay, I'll move. There we go.
And a second?
I'll second.
Okay, a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, chair says aye, motion approved. Okay, Christopher Burke.
As you can see, Jenny Miller submitted a progress report. Are there any questions with details in that report? Beyond that, as acting superintendent, all July reports have been submitted to IDEM as required. Both permit applications that were discussed at the last board meeting have been submitted to IDEM. We have gotten verification that the land app permit has been accepted. Have not heard anything about the MPDS permit, but that's not really surprising. The pre-treatment permits have been revised per the IDEM audit and are ready for your review and approval to send to the industries themselves. This is the stack of all the permits. So as I mentioned, it is substantial. With your approval, we will get those shipped out tomorrow. The industries will have 30 days to comment and address any questions or anything like that. And assuming everything goes smoothly, they will just take effect. With that, I would request permission to approve the permits as modified and drafted.
You need the general manager's signature on all those, is that what you need?
We have that, we just
Okay,
need
that's already done.
basically something in the minutes saying that you've all had a chance to review them and that you're all good with them going out.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Thank
So
you.
just a clarifying question on that.
Sure.
So you send this to an industry and they have an issue. So does that come back to you and then back to us, or does it just, you just resolve it, or how does that work?
If it required another modification, I would definitely bring it before you before we modified and sent out the permits. If it's just general clarification, I'm not going to bother you with it. I have had discussions with several of the entities involved already. They have seen drafts, knowing that they're not finalized, and addressed questions from especially the attorneys that ask, well, why are you adding this parameter or that parameter? And in general, most of the questions that were asked, the response was, because IDEM is making us do so. And there's really no recourse. You can ask us to modify it, and if IDEM doesn't, we're still under IDEM's regulation for this, and these all have to go not only to IDEM, but also EPA Region 5 in Chicago. So there's you know, we're between the rock and the hard place.
But the attempt is to
And
make,
we're just in the middle, so.
well, the action is to make them accountable for what they're putting in the system, right?
Correct.
And signing off on it that they are accountable.
Yes.
And so, okay.
IDEM had some comments during the audit of some other things. They want us to monitor for additional stuff that it's
Sure.
it's all in there. But
That protects our health. in the
yes,
system.
absolutely. It protects our sewers and our health and private property as well. Beyond that, as most of you probably aware, we had a big storm last night. I know Joe Plunk had all three portable lift station generators out. We had 3 lift stations without power for a substantial amount of time. One of those stations was still out of power this morning. I believe it has returned. No overflows occurred, which is great. The storm basin over here got about 2/3 full in the center, and the diurnal basin, nothing went to the final basin, so no overflow there. No reported property damage, and the treatment plant weathered it great. So I know everyone was extremely busy last night and today with storm cleanup and keeping things operating during the storm. So I'd just like to throw a shout out to all our personnel who helped with that operation.
Always takes my thunder.
Thank you.
Any other questions for
Absolutely.
Burke or me?
No, but I ditto with Chris. It was a terrible storm, and my husband and I were actually at a movie theater, and everything went out, and we waited 20 minutes, finished the movie. By the time we got home, thank goodness we have a generator, so it was good to walk back up and have a lit up house. But I know a lot of our neighbors, so we appreciate all the hard work that the group did to just take care of the citizens here in Michigan City. We appreciated it.
So, and to that end, what's the recourse on the generator? She said you had 3 generator failures?
No. We these 3 lift stations lost power that don't have permanent generators.
Oh, okay, so they don't have
And
backup generators. So you have a portable guy you put
we
in there.
have 3 on trailers, and
Gotcha.
they got all 3 out and had all 3 running last night.
Thank you. Okay, so the system, if you will, the manual system to correct when that stuff goes out, our personnel took the generators and corrected the situation.
Yep.
The other stations already have the backup power automatic, so it kicks in, right?
Either they didn't lose state
Or
power,
they have,
or yes, they had an
okay, so
automatic
great.
system.
No,
on
that's
site, so-
wonderful.
Awesome.
So that's awesome.
Absolutely.
So without the quick action, that's when you get the overflows. Yeah,
Exactly, and that's when IDEM gets involved. So.
Yes. Yes.
great.
And ideally, would we like generators at all the lift stations? We should.
Ideally.
That's a longer term capital question. So as part of our planning process,
It's
sure.
a huge expense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Welcome.
Chris, do we have an invoice?
Yes, I have an
Okay.
invoice from them that I've reviewed, and I'd like to make a recommendation to pay the invoice of $40,003.77.
So moved.
Second.
Second, have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Okay, then we'll move on to, now we talked about the pre-treatment permits already with Burke, is that correct?
Yes.
Yep, that's it. Okay.
That's all that.
That's all in there, okay, so,
An update on the Marcus Electric would be Leah next.
okay,
And because we were running into a personal issue here at the plant, one of our gentlemen had to take some time off that is a main source here for our mechanical position. So we decided to take Marcus Electric and give a contract with them to come in and fulfill those positions if we needed it on an emergency basis. This contract was signed and dated to allow them to come if we need, on a need-be basis. So we have not had to use them at this point. If we do have to use them, it'll be the rates that are in this contract. And I feel it's necessary to have a backup plan. So I'd ask the board to approve the allowance of the backup plan.
No, well, let me ask this, Marcus Electric is obviously a very good local firm.
yes.
Is are we required to get bids on this kind of stuff or not, or how does that work?
They are just coming, they do work for us initially.
So you have the
on a
discretion
regular
to do
basis.
whatever you want, right?
This is just gonna be one of those, and they're almost like a independent server. There are certain things they can only do as an
Okay.
electrical firm, and with our transformers, for example.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be as a needed basis.
Okay.
So we don't pay them anything unless we just call them and say.
So
we
there's
have
no
troubles,
retainer or anything?
which we would have probably called them anyway. But this
That's better to
sets
have
the
it up front,
rates.
you know what it is, yeah, so,
That sets the rates for us.
well, I move to accept the recommendation.
I'll second it.
And we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, chair, aye. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Okay, the Lake Avenue lift station, which please come forward, yes. I handed them all to you prior to the meeting, so those are the paper cut ones that are in front of you.
Sure, good evening.
Hi.
Just quick update, you have the report, so if there are any questions, I won't spend a whole lot of time on it since you have it, but we have, again, we had a couple options for the forest main route. The best route, in everybody's opinion, has been chosen. We've been working very closely with staff, both at the headworks and at the location that we are intercepting the sewer to iron out quite a few details. So design is moving ahead very well. They have since the last board meeting become aware of some deadlines for the funding, the close on the funding, which affect quite a bit of what happens. We have a few more answers to get from the RDC attorney on the process. And once we have those, we'll be able to put together a tighter schedule on when bids need to go out, when they need to be opened. But I anticipate what that's going to require are some special meetings here to authorize bids and to receive bids to meet their deadline. And when we have that information, we'll get it to Mr. Yagelski to review and do what he needs to do with it. But I just want to give you a heads up on that we will, I anticipate that need.
So, do you have an approximate budget kind of thing for what you anticipate the bids to come in at?
Once
Or
we
is
get,
that in here?
Well, no, when we get a little further in design, I'll be able to do that. I mean, by next board meeting, we'll get something.
So this will be several million or
Oh,
hundreds
yes.
of thousands?
Yeah, I mean, the estimate for the project that went with the grant application, I believe, was 4.6 million, wasn't it, Tim? Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And John, we're looking at probably needing to have a special meeting either last week of November or first week of December.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, as soon as we have the answers back from the RDC attorney, we'll be able to really fine tune that and let you know what they are.
All right. Other questions? Well, thank you.
Any questions? Okay,
Thank you.
good. Thanks.
Thanks.
Sure.
They also have an invoice,
Yes.
so it's my recommendation to pay the invoice to pay a GLE for $21,856.25.
I accept the recommendation and move that we pay it.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Thank you. Okay, so Attorney Jewell?
Yeah, I'll use this as an update as opposed to what was originally going to be a request for authorization to file a lawsuit. As opposed to that, this involves a delinquent account. The contractor's listed there, D&M Excavating. They have a delinquent account in the amount of $110,000 or so. We reached out to them, explained to them that they had this debt. Their privileges were cut off by our general manager. They have since responded to me, and we're in the process of trying to get something worked out. As we progress, I'll bring that back to the board for your approval, but hopefully it all works out. Yeah. So for now, I'm not requesting any authorization to file a lawsuit. Hopefully we don't have to do that. And their level of cooperation so far, gives me some optimism that we should be able to work it out.
I'm pleased we took the action.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, monthly reports?
Those are all in your pamphlets, if there's something
Okay.
that you haven't
Yeah.
been given. If there's something you have questions on, I'd be happy to help answer.
Did you have any questions? Amanda, okay. I think we're good there, Chris. Okay, so now we'll go to Old business.
Approval of the level.
Do 11 first.
I saw that
It's
first,
all right. I
okay.
snuck it by.
Yeah,
I was
read
gonna
the
say, I
next
thought we
page.
passed
Those are sticking together, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
The next page.
Just need to get an approval of this.
For the tax levy.
So the tax levy, the total claims would be $555,851.17. I make a recommendation that this be approved and signed.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
So
Thank you.
now we can do old business.
Now we can do old business, okay. Old business,
I have one item under old business that, as we discussed in a previous meeting in July meeting, we had the roof issue that you approved to have redone for, the roof was $17,159, and then the proposal to do all the brickwork was $14,786. After the approval was done, my maintenance position manager, Joe Plunk, gave me things that could have been done for a lesser price. We then put out further requests. We received a bid from Salet Brick of LaPorte, who fit all the categories and gave us a proposal of $5,000 in lieu of the $17,000. So because I got two bids, I could not retain a third, I went with the $5,000. And then, of course, then the roof will be done for the $14,000. So the whole project will be completed in lieu of the original $309,000 that we were going to spend.
Can you find another one for half that?
Just keep going.
A lot of work.
So do you need any approvals or anything on that?
Nope, it's just old business to
Thank you.
update you.
That sounds like good decisions were
Yes.
made, and we saved Sanitary District $250,000, so,
exactly.
or more.
Okay, then, we'll move off of old business and go into new business. Earlier today, we had an executive session, and the board at this point is going to make a recommendation for the executive session that we had today regarding a personnel matter. So
If I could make a
Yes.
recommendation to the board that in that executive session, you heard personnel grievance. And at this point, procedurally, just so you're all clear for purposes of the motion that you'll make, would be to either affirm or rescind the decision of the general manager.
I'll go ahead and make a motion. It's a very serious issue, of course, and personnel issues are never easy to resolve and to try to do what's fair. From my standpoint, having reviewed the information and listening to the concerns, my recommendation is to support the actions taken by our leader, Chris Yagowski.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion and a second.
Any discussion?
Any discussion from anyone? If not, can I get a motion? I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Thank you. Okay, next meeting will be.
I'm sorry, I have one new business, I apologize.
Is this okay?
Under new business, I have a proposal that I'd like to present. I presented it to the mayor, to our human resource director, to Chief Frank Rubach in the fire department, Chen Lees in the park department, and Sue Lehman, who's our laboratory manager. So my proposal is to, right now, we have what we call beach technicians that we hire every year, and it's summer help. We hire them, of course, the Memorial Day to Labor Day period, and that is to test waters along our beachfront. And they go on a daily basis, they pull samples from different locations, they bring them to our laboratory here at the sanitation department, and they're tested for bacterial quality for the swimming and for uses of the beach. My proposal is, because we have to hire 4 people and we have to do a 4-hour minimum work day, which is fine, but we also have to offer them transportation and guide them for those 4 hours. what I'd like to do, and instead of this, we hire lifeguards normally through the city. So I'd like to increase the lifeguards' hours to then be in more of a morning hour before they start their normal course of the day. They then would pick the samples up. They then would bring the samples to the location at Washington Park, Lot 1. Then the supervisor from the gate tendee would bring them to our lab, tested. Our lab then would send the results to the park department as we normally do. Then everybody is well aware of the process. That way we're eliminating trying to hire and control beach people for the summer, because if they call in sick or they're not here, they have to work weekends, all of that good stuff. They're on duty anyway. I would rather just utilize the personnel that we have. They are governed by the fire department. Frank Reebok addresses that, and he agrees with this process.
Okay.
But there is a single person responsible for making sure that all the samples are getting taken down on the beach. Is it the lifeguard supervisor or this transportation person?
It's going to be one of them, and that'll be determined next year who that
Okay,
person
but
will
somebody
be.
will be accountable
Somebody
rather than
account-
having all the lifeguards just all.
So we're not having 4 people driving
Yeah, that's
4
exactly
different
what I
samples to our
meant.
lab.
All over the place.
It'll be a one-person operation that will go to one location at the park, and they'll get time to be there. And if there's a storm or the beach is closed, they're not working, there's no reason to take bacterial counts.
Okay.
So it just works hand in hand.
Yeah.
So, and they have perhaps a little extra compensation for time?
They will get their compensated, their
Okay.
normal hours, but they will just get an extra hour to hour and a half in the
Gotcha,
mornings, and we'll
yeah.
decide that next year with Tatanisha upon the hiring of the new people, because they're a seasonal lifeguard positions.
I move we accept the recommendation.
I'll second that.
Got a motion
I
and
have a quick
Sorry.
question, just during your discussion, I have a quick question, just so you know exactly what it is you're voting on. The recommendation makes a lot of sense. I have a question procedurally. So for that extra money that they may get, the lifeguard may get, are we paying that lifeguard directly, or is this an amount being paid to the city for them to pay them more, to pay the lifeguard more for the extra hours?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah,
I'm not sure
what
where the monies are funded from, and I don't have that answer, so I don't want to.
And that's
yeah,
okay.
but
I think they
it's
can
a good
still point. approve the plan, but the reason for my question is, I think that question gives rise to the fact that there should be an MOU in place between the city and the sanitary district, and it'll spell out those details of, they're going to listen to our supervisor in terms of presenting the samples in the lab and et cetera, like all those details, and then how the money is to be exchanged. Normally, it would be the sanitary district would pay the city for whatever the extra hours are for the lifeguards that we basically have on loan. That's how it worked, but it would be in an MOU, and the State Board of Accounts likes to see those in place too. So, that's all.
So if I get approved for the process, and then I feel in 2025, once that season opens and lifeguard positions are made available, that will then commit to the MOU with the lifeguards, park department, lab, so we're all in conjunction.
do we need to change our motion?
Nope,
or was
just
it-
that
Okay,
you approve the plan to go, and we're just trying to get us ahead of the game.
all right. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed. Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
Okay. We are adjourned.
You need a motion.
How do I want to move that? Okay, I'd like to make a
Motion to adjourn.
Get a second?
Second.
It's the storm, we'll give it this.